We are up to the Mishnah and the Tzadik Chesed Beis. Today's daf is Tzadik Tes. A good Chedesh other edition. Says the Mishnah, Nosan l'umnin l'saken. You gave something to a tradesperson to repair it for you. The kilkla, instead of repairing it, ruined it, which happens sometimes. Chayovin l'shalom. That tradesperson has to pay you for the damage that he made. What about Nosan l'chedesh? You gave it to a carpenter, or you gave it to somebody, Cheder, Teva, or Migdal. You gave him different kinds of things, like a wagon from that you tied to a chariot and a cart, whatever, bigger things to fix up. L'sak and v'kilkul. Same thing. Chayv l'sham. You gave something to a tradesman, and they ruined it. They have to pay. The habanoi and a builder, shekibel olav lista as a kaisel. You gave him a job to demolish a wall. The shiber avonim, and he broke stones. Or either he damaged the wall, or others learn he damaged a person. Chayiv l'shalom. Again, the principle is the same. The tradesperson is responsible if they ruin it, and we'll talk more about it in the Gemara. But if, let's say, the other side of the wall fell down, that's talking about if you directly, you hit the wall and it fell down on the other side. But if the other side of the wall, which you weren't working with, collapsed at the same time you're working on this side of the wall, you're working on the wall that was 40 feet long, and you're working on one side of the wall and the other side, then potter, you are potter. Because you're more like causation than a direct. As we learned before, that, your grandma mazing is potter. But if it was your blow that did it, then obviously you're chay. Now, we learned this whole sugi already we had in Kedusha, the idea of shavach keli. A tradesperson takes an object that you gave them and they improve it. That improvement, who owns it until he gets paid for it? Who owns it? Is the pshat that the tradesman is merely an employee, that you're paying him for his time? Or do we say that the improvement in the keli, that improvement belongs to the tradesman? And when he gives it back to you, it's as if he's selling it to you. And you're paying him for the commodity. So Uman is kind of b'shevar keli or not kind of. The Ksasa Choshen in Simeon Beis explains, when we say that the Uman is kind of, those who hold that Uman is kind of, doesn't mean that he's a boss. It's like a mashkin. When somebody lends money and gives security, the person, the lender who now has security, Rabbi Yitzchak says, you have kinyanim in it. You're responsible. You have some ownership in it. In fact, we have a discussion if you can give it to a woman to be mekadesh, but not that you're the complete owner. Same thing given the Uman. The woman also is has some ownership here. So what's happening is you're not paying him. And what's the difference? One of the differences, the simple that we'll see later in the Gemara is there's a din you have to pay your employee on time. If you delay payments, you're not allowed to leave it overnight. You have to pay him on time. When it comes to a tradesman who repairs something for you, and when he finishes the job and returns it to you, are you able if you don't pay him straight away? If he's an employee, yes. But if he's selling you a keli, nowhere does it say that if somebody sells you something, you have to pay straight away. So here's a simple nafkamina between the two. But comes along and Asi, and he says, Lo Shanu, when do we say that he's responsible? You told him, knock in the nail. No, you're not improving. There's no improvement. They just said, repair it. The and he knocked in the nail maybe too hard or too fast, or whatever it is, too long, and the keli then shattered. Then he has to pay. If you gave him the raw materials, here, I want you to go ahead and build me a cabinet, build me a box, and build me a cabinet. Yeah, Chedesh is a carpenter. I said, I want you to build me something from wood, raw materials. The awesome man obviously it's worth now a lot more money than what it was as raw materials. Shivon potter. Then he is potter. My timer. Why is he potter? Because Uman kind of b'shavar keli, because he owns the keli, so he has to pay for wood, but that's it. So now we learned. So that's what he says. Now we go to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, the Mishnah doesn't make any difference. It sounds like even if you gave him raw material and he turned it into something else and he broke it, he has to pay for the full thing. My love, the Yola ate him. We're talking about over here that you gave him already not the raw material. You gave him a complete object and you said, bang in a few nails and fix it up. That's why he is responsible and he has to pay. So safer than
paying him for his own service.
If you gave the raw materials, if according to Rasi, the Rabbah says not the service. You took raw materials and you turned it into a box. As raw materials worth $10, as a box now is worth $100. You just improved this product by $90.
Yeah.
Who owns that?
I'm saying so that the carpenter now has to pay through the $90 that he
If
enhanced. He has to pay it to
no,
the
that's what I'm saying. He's kind of Sheva K means he broke his own. That
so he
$90
doesn't have to
improvement is
pay.
mine. I broke my own.
Yeah, me $10 worth of wood. I'll be back $10.
Exactly. But the $90 improvement,
Why should
because we'll soon see others argue. They say that Uman is not kind of Sheva K. So when you completed the box, whose box was it now? Before you broke it, whose box was it? It was the Balabas's box.
Yeah.
It was worth like he had $100. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to pay you. He owes you money for it. He owes you money. But you don't pay him $90 for taking wood and making it into a box. You pay him another $10, $20 for the time and effort, and he took a $10 piece of material and turned it into $100 commodity. So if you hold that the Uman is not kind of a Sheva Keli, then whose box was it that you broke? The owner of the wood, and you just ruined $100 box. So that's the difference. If you hold Uman kind of, whose box did he break? Well, it says, how can you tell me that? It says the next case in the Mishnah, it says the next case in the Mishnah talks about a box that if you broke the box, you have to pay. Is Miklal, did Aisha eats him? Now, the first case, obviously, is a different case, but you don't give him raw material. Amri, we say, Pirusha Kamefadishla. The Mishnah explains that two separate cases. Ketzad, Nosan, Lubna, Sakin, the Kilgor Chayot, when we say you have to pay for the whole thing, going Shinosa, what you gave him was a box worth $100. He asked him to knock a few nails in. And he ruined it. He has to pay it $100. And Hachanam Mistabra. I'll prove it to you. It has to be this way. The case Tony that Mishnah is trying to explain itself. Because if you can tell me the first case, the Mishnah is talking about I gave him raw materials, and for this one you're telling me that he has to pay for the entire thing. You know that we said so you need to tell me then if I gave you a full box worth $100, you have to pay me $100. Madach, I gave you raw materials worth $10, and you built out of a $100 box, you have to pay me $100 worth. Of course, you have to pay me if I gave you $100 box. What do we have to tell you for? These are that they should eat him. If you tell me that so much you gave him raw materials, let me say Shada table middle me boy. Tell me. Say, well, that's not a raya. And we have this conversation all the time. You need the safer because the Mishnah is so cryptic and so brief. You don't know what the Mishnah means in the Reisha. That's your whole base is not approved. Trying to say the Reisha is coming to tell you. Don't tell me if you only had the Reisha, you would say the Mishnah probably told me you gave him a box worth $100. Shade the middle, a complete box. But if you gave him raw material, maybe he doesn't have to pay. You know, if I don't agree with Ramasi, if I hold that is not Kodesh Keli, you have to pay for the entire box. But I would have thought that the Mishnah doesn't spell it out. I would say it's talking about you probably gave him a whole box. Tana Sefer Shade the middle, by telling us in the Sefer, in the next case, he gave him a box. So obviously, what the Reisha then is redundant must be he gave him raw materials, and even so, but the says the Gemara, I'll bring you proof that a woman is kind of a nice. If somebody, a nice and somebody gave wool to somebody to dye it for him, give somebody dye it for you. He puts it in the pot and he ruined it because the water was too hot, too long. He ruined it. So when Tzadik tests on top of the page, and we're discussing the principle that if a tradesman improves somebody's whatever they gave him materials, who owns that improvement until he gets paid? Does it belong to the tradesman and he's selling it back, or is he just an employee, merely an employee, and it's always considered the owner of the raw materials? So here so Rabbi Asi said that the woman is owned. It says the Gemara, if somebody gave wool to a dyer, the pot brought it up. You give him the money for the wool. It seems like they made similar in. They made simra b'shvachalai. Seems like the money for the wool, but you don't pay the money for the wool and the improvement. Why? Because the improvement belongs to the tradesman. Is a raya that the tradesman owns that improvement. No proof. Sorry, Mordechai says lav isn't was part of the proof. Lav isn't the talking about shekdiche la'achel. In other words, it fell in. It right away had the dye, retained the dye, so it already increased the value. But the problem is you left it there too long, and then eventually you ruined it. So therefore, and you don't have to pay because that improvement belongs to the thing. So there was an improvement here. There was an improvement here, and yet you don't pay for it. It belongs to the tradesman. Why pay what doesn't belong to me? No hoch my skin. The like a shracha. Who told you that first it improved and then it got ruined? The moment it fell in, the water was too hot. It shouldn't be so hot, and therefore you ruined it straight away. There was never an improvement here in the first place. So there's no proof one way or another. So Gemara said, 1 second. If you're going to tell me the pshat in this, you can tell me the pshat of here is that there was never an improvement, as if what Shmuel hold. But if there would have been an improvement, Shmuel holds you would have to pay for the improvement. That means Shmuel would hold that a uman does not kind of the improvement of the keli. And we know whenever Shmuel Abasi argued the halacha like Shmuel, isn't that a proof that the halacha should be that a woman is not kind of the shevach of the keli? It seems to Shmuel's answer, but let's say you boiled it up, it heated up or ruined it after it fell. No, but first it improved and then it ruined. It sounds like Shmuel would hold you pay not only for the wool but also for the improvement because that improvement belonged to the owner of the materials. Shmuel doesn't prove that Shmuel argues with Abasi, and he holds that a woman is not kind of. Shmuel says, no. I'll tell you, it's talking about a case of here. You know why you don't pay for the improvement? Why is the improvement belong to the Uman? Because the Uman not only puts in his time, he puts in his own nails, he puts in his own dye, because he also invests a little bit of money in it, so therefore it's his improvements. Here we're talking about all the materials, including the dye, including everything was given to him by the owner of the raw materials. So therefore, then what's the woman doing here? He's purely a salary. He's getting a wage. The tzava agayodu the shakel, and therefore, if you balabai with tzava and the guy tzaba and the guy who's doing the dye, sachakel agayodu the shakel, he's only getting paid for his time, for his work, for his skill. That's why there's no shevach here. But what would I hold the case of the shevach? Maybe she will agree that it belongs to the tradesman. So if you tell me you're talking about a case, why you tell me that all he has to reimburse the guy is for the material? He's also paying for the dye. You gave me the dye and I ruined it. I should have said you pay for the wool. If the dye belonged to the owner of the materials, then it should have said you pay for the wool and also for the dye. Shmuel is merely just saying there's no proof for me. He's not pasking halach. He's just saying it's not conclusive. If you want to be devil's advocate, I can argue both ways. Tashma coming here. Again, whether we have a proof to the Ravasi not. I know you said talis or lumen. Somebody gave this talis to an uman. Glomray, let's say he finished the job, whatever he's meant to do, and he notified the guy, look, I finished the job. Come and pick it up. Now, an uman does not get paid until the guy picks up the object. The guy didn't pick it up yet. There's no isam loisalim because cold man, the person who owned the materials didn't get it back, doesn't owe it yet. Or the nasnalai, because there's no loisalim, I'm buying something or whatever. But nasnalai, the guy gave it to him, even middle of the day. If you didn't pay the person that night, you're able to, which means we're treating him like an employee. Which means what about the improvement on the talis? He's not kind. He's merely an employee. He's not selling back the talis to me. In other words, the money. It's exactly. So we see clearly that a woman is not kind in the improvement. He's merely an employee, and an employee you have to pay the same day. You tell me that uman is kind of the improvement, which means when he gives back the talis, why are you paying him? Because he's selling you back that improvement. Is that my about what kind of about here? Where does that come in? I want to remember that kind of begarda the sarbler. We're talking about a case over here. But there's no shevach, no improvement. So what was the job exactly with the talis? The job was it's very thick material and very hard and uncomfortable to soften it up. The job was to soften it like a shvacha. There's no improvement here. So we're not talking about a case. What are you? In this case, everyone agrees. All you are is an employee, a wage earner. That's all you are. You're not improving anything. You're not adding color to it. Yeah, to soften it up. Why do you give the luchuch? Make it soft. Keeping the a talis that is soft is worth more. You buy now these talasim, these summary talasim. They cost more because they don't sweat as much. So he softened up the material. It costs more. Well, like the agre leviche, what I did was I hired you to go and step on it. They walk on it and they trample it. Bitcha b'masa. And every layer of the talis, I pay you another coin. And therefore, the heinus chidit, pure rent. I didn't, it's not like I gave you a job. Give me the talis back. I don't know how many layers there are there. I give you a number of layers. Each layer, I'll give you another, whatever, a certain amount of money for making it soft. So this is definitely a wage earner. There's no shavach here. The way we thought we're talking about a negative talis, where the guy made an improvement. Yeah, but treat them like what? Like a worker. That's what we thought the pshat in the mission. We thought the pshat over here is that what that tzachako, you're a worker, and that's why there's like soul in. So Messiah Rav Sheshes, this would support Rav Sheshes' question. The moment Rav Sheshes asked Rav Sheshes a question, kablanus. If you have a contract job, you're not paying me by the hour, you're paying me by the piece. You finish this talus, whatever, you finish this job, you get paid X amount of dollars. And the question was, as far as Bautol is concerned, the contractor, is he like, from the Torah's perspective, is he like a worker, a wage earner, and therefore if you don't pay him on time, you're over? Or we say no, that you're not over because until you finish the complete job and everything else, it's not a wage earner, totally different piece. But Rav Sheshes is over. Rav Sheshes says clearly, you are over, saying the talus. The way we understood it initially, I gave you a talus, I'm not paying you by the hour, I'm paying you for the job, the kabbanis. And yet we thought that this is that even though there's a shevach, forget the discussion of shevach, but we thought that even so, yeah, you're able to solid. So this would support Rav Shesh's view that even a contractor is considered an employee as far as loy solid paying the guy on time. And we don't make that distinction. We're just saying here is if I'm paying you for the job rather than by the hour. An employee you pay by the day, by the hour. If I'm paying you by the job, maybe it's considered not an employee. Just like in Hilchos Shabbos, we treat the Kabbalah different, so maybe here also. So we're not talking about the Shevach. We're not talking. I know, but we're not talking about Shevach now. We're focusing on different things. In the Shevach case, you're right. We're not talking about the improvement at all. We're not talking about he's the owner or anything else. We're just talking about a contractor versus a daily employee. So the Gemara, in that case, then Rav Sheshes, and then we go further. Rav Sheshes holds that even though you're a contractor, you're merely an employee. So which means that an uman in a way is like a contractor. You don't pay by the hour; you pay whatever it is for you fix up this thing, you make this thing. No, again, we're talking about the job that we're doing here. Rav Shesh's question was about a job that did not. In other words, we understood Rav Shesh a step further that there was shevach there as well. So even though you're talking about a contractor, l'chaydev is a contract, and the shevach, that shevach belongs. If you hold that a uman is kind of a shevach keli, the contractor is the same thing. Since you're not paying you for the hour, like you just said a minute ago, it belongs completely to the contractor till he sells it back to the guy. And yet, Rav Sheshes says you're an employee, so he argues in a Ravasi. So we answered it's a case where there's no shevach. What his job was, he was a postman. All it was a postman. There's no improvement here, and therefore there's nothing to do about shevach here. Nothing to do with Ravasi's case. Okay, so we'll go back to the discussion regarding shevach. We had this whole Gemara in Kedushin, so we'll go to like a chazor now. Let's say that this whole concept of woman, shevach keli, is an argument tonight. What's the story? I say, a woman says to a man, make for me shit in the zomah, all kinds of jewelry for me, yeah, nose bands and necklaces and bracelets and rings. But and if you do that, I won't pay you, and I owe you money, and the money that's it, and you give it to me as if that's my kedushin money, and I'll be mekudesh to you with it. No, but he'll give her back the ring. He'll give her the ring that she gave him some raw material, and he'll give it back to her in the shape of a ring, of a bracelet. And you normally would charge me whatever it is, X amount of dollars. You're not going to charge me, and that's going to be my kedushin. He was also mekudesh. As soon as he did it, she is mekudesh. That's what I made. Give it I made. And Chachamim say now, remember by kedushin you have to give her something. You have to give her something. A loan, if let's say she owes you if you have money, say but I'm making loan, we learn for $1 million kadeshes. So you have to give her something. If you hold that uman kind of a shevar keli, when he improved the material, turned it into a bracelet, who owns that now? That improvement, this man. And then when he gives it to her, he gave her something of his, and she's mekudesh. So in the case of the mashkin, I told you, if you give the mashkin, she's mekudesh. The chachamim ain't mekudeshes. Sound like the chachamim say that uman is not kind of okay. He's not giving her anything. While he's meichel her the payment, that's the loan. He's ajigi mom until he gives her money. Now, what exactly does that mean? My mom, what do you mean the chacham say you have to give him money? You have to give what? The money that she owes him now. He says, keep it. And what I made hold? Oh, he said, Mama, and I made hold that you don't have to give her anything. Nothing at all. What, he still charges her, and so what does he make kaddish? If she owes $100, I'll give me the $100 and take your ring. So what is he mekadosh? It's her material. He got paid for it. Ella must be pshita that Rameir holds. You don't collect the money. That's the kedushin. And your brothers say no, mom and acha. This is not going to work. You got to give separately kedushin money in order to be engaged. Mom and acha. So what's going on here? We thought, everyone holds yeshna l'schidas metchilav atzayv. Remember, we had a whole discussion. If you hire somebody to do a job, how does it work? You don't owe the money until he finishes the job, or every incremental, every step of the way you owe money, but you don't. But you made up physically. I'm not going to pay you the money until the end of the job, but it's a loan. As soon as you finish this layer of the building, I owe you the money for that. But I'm not going to pay you right now. So it's converted into a loan. So everyone right now is saying learns that it's all the way through. It's a loan. So no, he's working on this thing. Might take 3, 4, 5 hours. He makes a little bit more and more along the way. Whatever the installments, it's as if she owes him the money. Navas. Everyone agrees. I'm a casual Kadeshes. He can't just say to her, okay, the money you owe me, keep it, because that's a loan. And you cannot be casual. What are you giving her now? You gave her then. What are you giving her now? My love. So what's going on here? But that improvement that he made on the raw materials, who owns it? He owns it, and therefore, and he's giving her normally when you give it back, it's like a sale, and you owe me money. Now I'm giving you the case. I'm giving you my thing. I'm giving you my improvement. That's worth a pruta, and that's what she's mekudesh with. And the Rabbanah Sabri ain't no mekudesh of a king. The Rabbanah know that a tradesman does not have any ownership in the object itself. All it is the payment that you owe me, which is now a loan. So there's nothing mekudesh. You have to give other money. No, that's so we want to say it's a machlekes tonight. No. I can argue Kuli Alma, everyone holds ain't Kainish of a king. That the tradesman owns nothing. So how is she Mekudesh Kotameh? That itself is the argument. The Yeshna L'Schidah M'Chilav Atzayv could be that's the argument. Rameir holds ain't L'Schidah Atzayv. There's no loan here. She's not chayiv until he finishes the job. So the moment he finishes the job, he says to her, the money that you're about to be owe me, keep it. That's not I'm giving you something right now. Milva is an existing loan already, which you already got something. I'm giving you nothing now. I'm giving you something right now because the loan didn't exist. That money that you're going to have to pay me now, keep. And Rabban hold yes, they hold no, it's a loan. That's how you can make it. Simple. Or you boys say everyone holds that's a loan. The hoch and that itself is an argument. But mekadesh milva good. I made hold mekadesh milva kadesh. Maybe taka could be mekudesh, and Rabban hold them can be mekadesh. Rabba says, Kuli alma. I can say as follows. Everyone agrees that one is alone. Everyone agrees alone you can't even mekadesh. So how in the world is it made whole that you give her the ring kodesh? And kuli alma ain't kainish ever keli. Based on this, many of the Shem hold the halacha is that an uman is not kainish b'sheva keli, is merely a tradesman. Even though the Rif argues on that. Ela hacha b'mayaskin. You know what we're talking about here? He going shahoisiv law neifa b'shalai. He said to her, here, take your ring back, and I'm going to give you a little something extra. That extra is worth a pruta. The problem is because you're giving it together with her ring back, and the ring is worth a lot more, whatever, you give a knife a little bit more, is the ring worth a lot more. What is she thinking about? Remember the Gemara Sanhedrin? Remember Sanhedrin that the machlek is a David HaMelech and show when he killed Goliath and all that, whether Michal Basho was married to Manat, is about this very argument. HaMekadesh b'milva u'pruta. What is she thinking about? Is daita a milva or daita a pruta? Which we'll talk about when we get to Sanhedrin. So I made hold milva pruta daita pruta. She knows that it's that the ring is hers. So what's she thinking about? I'm going to be mekudesh on the pruta. So therefore they're mekudesh. And the milva pruta daita milva. The milva is worth a lot more money to her, and therefore that's what she's thinking about, and she's not mekudesh. Or but look at that tonight, and that in itself is an argument of the following tonight. What? Where the Mekadim will put the time we learn, if he says to her, look, you owe me money because I did work for you yesterday and therefore keep it and you're Mekudesh with that. Everyone agrees. It's not Mekudesh, it's a Milva. It's a loan. You owe me money already. I'm going to work for you tomorrow. So the loan didn't exist yet. And I'm giving it to you right now already, Mekudeshes, because you're giving us something now new. Nassan says, he says no, even Esimach doesn't work. He's not Mekudeshes. Why? Because he holds I shouldn't have why. You want to explain. And the way to explain it is because he holds that Yeshna is Chilaz Mechilav Atzayf. So as I'm working through this constantly alone, and alone cannot be Mekadosh alone. And the first Tana holds that no, the Chiv doesn't start till you finish the job. And then when you finish the job, you give her the thing. I'm giving you something now. However, you don't know, they say, because he's my ben Chash and Kadesh is always not Kadesh. But if you add something with Kadesh, because Daita Apruta. How if he's arguing with somebody? Nothing would hold that even if you gave her something extra, it wasn't work because you're thinking about the law. So they're arguing about whether Chidus is all the way through, it starts at the end, so then you gave her something, or is it all the way through? And we see that they're arguing about this very concept. You gave her a loan and a little bit extra. Shmuel says an interesting idea now. Shmuel says, Tabach Uman. You go to a sheikhet who is a professional. She killed him. But then what happened was he ruined it. Chayiv l'shalom. He has to pay. If you gave him something to fix and or to shech the behemoth, and he ruined it, we'll blame him. It's his fault. He didn't shech properly. He's chayiv. Why? Maziku. First of all, he's a mazik. He did it with his hands, proactively, and pashayu. It's negligent. Nasa tazif ka'imala. You told him shchoitli bekan b'sholim bekan. Didn't listen to instructions. I told you shech the kosher and he shech the tray. We're not talking about he found the lungs. We're talking about the shchit itself wasn't done properly. Why does Shmuel say both? He's a mazik and a pesheya. If you're a mazik, who cares? Remember, Adam would loyal. Who cares if you're a pesheya or not? So the Gemara says, if I would have said mazik, I would have thought only he got paid with money, because then a mazik is chayiv be'einsin. Whether he did it by mistake or not by mistake. But if I would have thought, if I don't pay him, he's doing me a favor, then you can't call him a mazik and you be potter. If you did it for nothing, even a shem mechinim is chayiv if you're negligent. So he's a pesheya. It's not considered an einus because you should have been more careful, shechted properly. The Gemara, Rashi said the animal jumped around, so you should have known. If you're a professional, you know the animal jumped around. You should have been more careful. Comes along and asks a question. Now we see how Shmuel was always a bit sharp here. It says if you gave a behemoth to a butcher, and he ruined it, became an avela kakis. Pot. If you're a professional, you're potter, and a hedyet chayiv. You Shmuel said that even a professional is liable. It says clearly here, if you're a professional, you're potter. Like the whole discussion about a doctor, a professional, and things don't go right. The im noisens chaber, if he gets paid. The ben hedye ben umen chayiv. If he gets paid, then even an umen is chayiv because he's chayiv and oinsin as well. Amalei, he said, la'aka moichas. Your moyach is for free. Yeah, if he does you a favor, then if he's a professional, he's part. If not professional, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. You should say, look, I know what I'm doing. Exactly. But if you're professional, okay. But if you're getting paid, then you're responsible for even for names. So Shmuel said to him, "Your is all confused. Others, dirty waters. You have, others say there's no brain in between your ears." Also, what about him? Very good, very good. But you're happy. Look what it says now. Another rabbi came along. Asked Shmuel the same question. That brain that he's missing, you now took it over. You took over his thing as well. He said, look, I'm talking according to the mayor who come recently Rabban. And you tell me a catch Rabban. And how is the guy supposed to know? Don't you listen to what I'm saying? I added, I said extra word. I said he's a mazik, the pesheya. Nas, I said, I take the whole extra sentence there. I gave a whole beer. What do I add all those words for? Man isle high sweater. Who holds this sweater that you're responsible? That mayor. The Amar the mayor is the one who holds that you should have been careful. If you got paid, you should have been careful. The Rabban don't hold that. So of course you go to the Rabban, if you're a professional and there's an accident happened, you're potter. I'm going to go to the mayor. Now I'm going to try to work which Rameh it is. Hi Rameh. Which Rameh it is that hold that even if it got paid, even if it's your fault, or even if it's your fault, even if it's an accident, it's your fault. If you tie the animal down, we had this whole discussion of Meir Abuda. If you tie the animal down properly, and even over fun and you lock the doors properly, and you have the other, if the animal went out, caused damage. Because even a proper shmir is not good enough, it's your fault. Leave it Meir. Remember the whole machlekes in the psukim, how we dash the psukim. The following is now we learned. You told him to make it red. He made it black. No, but he didn't listen to your instructions. That's not an accident. That's deliberate. He decided he knows better than you what color you want. Or Shachavitz of a other, that's why other, I mean, made it red. I mean, it's like made some similar. You have to pay him for the wool because he ruined it. The house be a dime column in it. He did it deliberately. What do you put? That's not an accident. El Hada made it. Finally, maybe we learned the third pedic. Now we learn Nishbra Kada. Let's say he's walking the street and the barrel broke. Whatever is an accident. Loisilka didn't take it away. Nofla Gama Gamala. His camel fell down below him. He didn't stand it up straight away. That made him a chayiv in his zig and chayiv. Anything else? If anyone gets hurt, you chayiv. Come on, put him in the chayiv shemaim. The Kaimlan. We learned there that, but you know what the argument beniskul pashayu. If an accident happens, is it your fault? Please. So we see that made holes. That makes it puts a bigger onus on the person to be careful. So made holes, even though you're professional, if you ruin it, you're chayiv. It's your fault. But about tackle you put it, and I'm talking about quoting that mayor. If you have a professional butcher that ruined it, chayiv, you're chayiv. If you have a professional tradesman that he ruined it, a butcher, he's chayiv, even though he's professional. But even if he's a professional like those butchers and tzapori who knew what they were doing, you're chayiv. What are you talking about? There's once an incident. The Knish to the mine, they're in a gathering place in mine. He said, Zil, I see bring me a proof that you are a professional, have a license or something. And then after, and I'll exempt you. You know, if you knew what you're doing, and accidents happen, it's an accident. If you didn't know what you're doing, then it's like it's your fault. You should have never got involved in the first place. Like Kasha. It depends. If you do it for free, then you are potter. If you get paid, then you are responsible even for accidents. If you want to make sure that you give an animal which is worth a lot of money to a tabach and make sure he does a good job, yakdim le dinner. Pay him even a small amount. The moment you pay him, he's on retainer. Most on retainer, who's responsible if he ruins it. Makes us a question. It says, if you go ahead and you bring wheat to somebody, to a miller, to go ahead and to grind it. Now, the way you grind wheat is you have to take it and put it in hot water, so you soften up the husks, and then you remove the husks, and then you make a fine flour out of it. But what he did was he didn't put it in the hot water, so you had the husks together when he grind all together, so you have coarse flour here. Is and he didn't put them in hot water, but also subin and mursin, it turned it into either very thick, bad flour or a bit finer, but it's still not the fine flour that you wanted because the guy was negligent. He brought flour to a baker boss and passed the pool, but he made bread that falls apart in your hand. He ruined it. You brought a behemoth to a tabach and he ruined it. Why? Because he's a chayiv. So it sounds like even if he didn't pay him, he's like a person who rents and is chayiv. You know, if he ruins it. You just said before, if you do it for free, your pots, it's only if you pay him. It says he's like. And you who knows I'm talking about a case where you actually paid him. Not that he's technically like it. We actually paid him, then he's responsible. The din is as follows. When you shech, you have to shech through the trachea and the esophagus. But if you do it on a slant, that's called hagrama. If you do it on a slant, it's a machlekes. What happens? Because they're different vertebrae. What happens if, or the rings, cartilages? What happens if you, not vertebrae, sorry, cartilages? What happens if you did the vast majority of the shchita properly, right level, and then you made a little angle on an angle? Now, Chachamim say that it's treif. I mean, you said if you did the majority properly, it is kosher. Rav Paskin is that if the top ring, which is the biggest, the thickest one, you did most of it, then we'll Paskin Rabbi Yehuda that it's kosher. The other rings, either a suffix or we Paskin Chachamim. So what happened was that this guy did hagrama. Says he came to Rav, and the guy said, "Look, he ruined my behemoth. He did hagrama. What should I do?" So first he says, "Tar, you can't eat animal sorry, treif like the chachamim." But also to the butcher, it's like Rabbi Yehuda. You don't have to pay because you didn't do anything wrong. They once met a in the street. Only other Rav did two things there. So you might write down things that would be critical. My tati ilem or tati there were the two things he did wrong. First of all, the boiler should. First of all, he should have said the halach it's kosher Rabbi Yehuda. Number one, and number two, and instead he made it treif like Rabbanon. Number one, and number two, v'inami Rabbanon. And if he holds like Rabbanon, that's why he says treif. Then the butcher should pay. The boiler the chiyuv tabcha. The two halachas he made are self-contradictory. Either or. So the Gemara, first the Gemara digresses. Are they even allowed to be critical? But in Torah we learned you should never say that I was the one who tried to offend you as others. Somebody who goes lashon hara real secrets. And what's actually going on here? The only possible way is that Rav Kahana and were part of the three judges of Din Torah, and they were part of the judges. They were fremde people. Is there such a din that a fremde person cannot be critical of a psak of a bezin? You know, it's stopped like 99% of machliks around the world. They were saying two. They were actually commending Rav. Two good things. First of all, the lachal was suffix. So because it's a suffix, the chachamim Marbesi Yehuda decided to tell you don't eat it because maybe Allah like chachamim. Well, menachem was suffix zayla. On the other hand, he also said the butcher doesn't have to pay because if the halach is that it's kosher, taking his money be a gneva. And Tais has an interesting thing here. Rav himself passed me clearly that the top ring is kosher. And this is talking about the case of the top ring, and that's why Rav, and that's what Rav said the butchers have to pay. So why do you say it's treif? So Taisus says a rule that there are certain dinim where it's complicated. Then if you're talking to an Amoritz, you don't make this distinction. Oh, the top ring, the bottom ring, they don't understand the difference, the nuances. You're machmir for everybody. But technically, the fact is that it isn't. So why we have a discussion about the butcher even coming up? Because the butcher should have known better. He should know that, for an Amoritz, you don't do this way. So we see this concept that for an Amoritz, we pass differently with Tamachachim. For Tamachachim, it is allowed, but don't do it in public. Because people don't understand the nuances.